Del Rio, Texas. Rob Wade and Robert Garza. Two guys who dive. This episode of Two Guys Who Dive, recorded live, Saturday, 7 December, 2013, episode 87, Incredible Rescue. Well, welcome once again to another exciting episode of Two Guys Who Dive, and I'm your host, Rob Wade, and I'm here joined with...
Robert Garza.
Yes. Wow. How cold is it outside, man?
You know, this is skinny dipping weather, I'm telling you.
What do you mean skinny dipping weather?
No, it's actually awesome. I personally love this weather. So
why?
Because it's just so cool, you know. It's awesome.
I'm sure you're out bike riding in this, right?
Yes, actually I am.
What?
Yeah.
You're crazy, man.
Well, no, it's you know, it's like scuba diving is bike riding. You know, they have all the gear for you to use, you know, like scuba, so that you can dive year round. They have gear so that you can ride year round. It's the same concept. Actually, you know, this is kind of ironic that you bring this up because I think it's suitable for this. But I was actually scouring the internet looking for a windproof, waterproof riding jacket.
Right.
So I found this website, and in the website, I actually, you know, going through the categories of, you know, whatever they're selling, and one of them was like wetsuits. So I clicked on it, and they actually sell wetsuits that you wear under, like, so that you can bike ride on. Because if you're gonna ride in weather that is, I think, below 32 degrees,
right?
Well, it actually insulates your body, the neoprene, so you put it on, and it keeps you warm.
So, all right. So why could you not just use a regular wetsuit?
Well, you can. That's the thing. You can.
So in other words, what they've done is they have hijacked a thing that we use, a piece of equipment that we use already, and said, "Oh, this is yes, get your bike riding wetsuit or your bike riding neoprene suit."
Well, it's actually it is a wetsuit. It's a 2 mil wetsuit that you can use, you know, which makes it a lot flexible for when you're riding.
So a 3 mil would be fine.
A 3 mil would be great, and it's just pretty much a full suit, so it keeps you warm.
Yeah,
you know, it keeps the core, and then of course you put your jacket on and everything else. So you can pretty much ride in any weather.
Wow. Well, oh, thank you, dear. the what's funny is, I guess it makes sense because if you work up a sweat, if you're really doing some heavy bike riding, not just kind of cruising along, you'd probably get sweaty. And that would be absorbed into the suit, just like if you were diving, the water gets in there, and then you would heat that layer up.
Exactly.
Now the downside, can you guess? If instead of seawater or fresh water being the fluid that fills up your wetsuit, what's the downside?
The suit's gonna get kind of funky.
It's gonna get your sweat in there. So you would definitely want to have one that you use for that purpose, and probably not for scuba diving.
No, of course. And you know, the ones that I saw they seemed like they were actually tailor made for riding. Of course, I mean, this isn't like for a commuter, you know. You're talking, like you mentioned, you know, somebody who's going to be out there.
Seriously working.
You know, it's a serious rider.
Right.
And they're just people out there that do it. I mean, obviously, if you're just going to commute to work, well, you're not going to go and deck yourself out with a full wetsuit just to ride to work. I mean, you know, it'd be silly. But that's actually part of the equipment now that you can get for riding.
That's remarkable.
Yeah.
Which in this kind of weather, you got to have enough to keep you warm, because this, of course, you know, those of you who live up in the upper Midwest, the North, this weather's nothing for you. But for those of us here in Del Rio, Texas, running around in 38-degree weather, which is what it is right now.
Yeah.
38 degrees is not what we call a fun time. So you would definitely want to be layered up. So, yeah, it's been just been incredibly cold. It is not the coldest that it's ever been.
No.
On this day in Del Rio. Actually, I was checking what the record is, 10 degrees.
During this time?
Yes, 10 degrees is the coldest it's been. The average is 60.
You know, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I wish it was 10 degrees.
No, not me.
Yeah.
No. I'm already, I mean, you see I got the heater in here in the studio. I've been freezing. And I've got a heater in my office at work. I practically sit on top of it. I mean, it's like right there between my legs underneath the desk, keeping me warm.
No, for me, again, I just enjoy the cold weather.
I just don't see it.
I mean, of course, there's more things you can do in the summertime, but...
Yeah, like real scuba diving. Lots of scuba diving.
But I actually enjoy the cold weather.
This absolutely, for your average diver, is dry suit diving. I just can't get into the dry suit diving, and so the short 30-minute full 7mm wetsuit with gloves and boots and hood and everything would be what I do, because just I'm that hardcore. But this is just crazy for me. And of course, it's been pretty much cold like this for the pretty much all week. The Del Rio held its annual Christmas parade and tree lighting ceremony downtown yesterday. Tara, my wife and our producer, she sort of semi-volunteered to be on the float with the wife of Troy McGonigal, who guest hosts a number of times and was guest host last week. They were both on the float singing the Christmas carols as the float went by, as the float was going through the parade. And let's see if anybody's in a social stream. Nobody's in there. Okay, just checking. And so they were just, hands were frozen, very, very cold. I get this phone call, hey, can you come pick us up, because the parade was over. And of course, everybody else was going over to Greenwood Park to do the tree lighting. So, and since the daughter of our senior pastor is Miss Del Rio, of course, she and the Miss Teen Del Rio had to do the big ceremony there. So I'm sure that was really nice and toasty for them.
Sure it was. When I first went out to sit outside, it wasn't that bad. It was like, it's cool, but it's tolerable. After about 30,
to watch the parade?
Yeah. After about 30 minutes, I started getting kind of nippy. I started feeling it, in my my legs, and then it started moving up into my back, and then I was like, okay, it's a little chilly.
My little Texas warmed rear end was right here in this very chair, as a matter of fact.
You were streaming online?
Yeah, well, I was watching, looking up some different things to kind of get ready for the show. So yeah, incredibly cold.
It was nice though. There was quite a lot of floats.
Tara said there actually was. I normally kind of get down on the floats that Del Rio puts up for their parade, various parades, because they're usually nothing more than a flatbed trailer with some people sitting on it and maybe a sound system.
Yeah.
Not much in the way of real
decoration.
Yeah, not really looking like a float.
Yeah.
It's a trailer or the back of a truck. Well, Tara said this year there were actually some pretty inventive ones, some pretty nice ones.
There was some nice ones, and then there was a few. I mean, there was quite a bit of them, so that was nice. I mean, it was nice to see like a full blown on parade.
Right.
There was one that I saw that had I couldn't see it because the sign was actually facing, I guess, the judges.
The other way.
Yeah, the other way.
So they actually had judging.
Well, I would say, I don't know if they had judging, but I know that it was facing the other way, like usually where the judges sit on the other side,
Right.
Like by Compass Bank
Right.
or whatever. Well, when it was coming down by the front of my house, it lit up its lights or whatever. I guess it had like a billboard thing. It was so bright. It looked like it was daylight on the other side of the street. I mean, the people were like closing their eyes because it was so bright.
I'm blinded. Go into the light. Go into the light.
Although I don't know what was on the actual sign because I didn't get to see it, but it must have been
Too bright to see.
Whatever it was bright.
I had burning on my retina. I couldn't see.
Yeah, they were tanning.
Yikes. Wow. Okay, so did you happen to see any movies since last we met? That's been 2 weeks.
Negative.
Okay.
The one that they've been talking a lot about that my wife went to go see was Frozen today.
I believe Troy said they went to see that.
They
they liked it.
Yeah, that it was good. They went. I really haven't had the full detail. They just went a little bit ago.
Yeah.
So I wasn't home when they got there. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. Well, we got a couple more weeks left, and you know, Christmas Day is the big time that everybody goes out to the movies. For some reason, I never understood that, but that's it typically is.
Oh.
All right, so the title of the episode this week is Incredible Rescue. I texted you that there was a really cool video. And we're going to show that, and it's just remarkable. So a little bit of background story on it. If you haven't seen this on the internet, you probably will eventually. It's just amazing to me. Earlier this year, there was a tug that sunk off the Nigerian coast, and it sunk in 100-foot water. So it capsized, whatever, and ended up down at 100 feet. Everybody died on the boat. So this company called DCN Diving, and we have to give them proper credit for this in order to show the video. DCN Diving, they have offices in, I thought they were more local, but as I found out, they actually are an international dive recovery, I guess probably salvage too, company. And they're based out of Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, UK, and Abu Dhabi, of all places.
Okay.
And they went in with a diver, hoses and everything, in what they thought was going to be just a recovery, because you have all hands lost. They figured they're going to be recovering the bodies for proper ceremonies and burial and everything. They found a survivor after 3 days underwater. So we're gonna show the video here. Sound like Darth Vader.
Okay, so have you come into the next deck? Onto the main deck? Alright, so you should be walking on the ceiling, yeah? Okay. What's that? Okay. Alright, you found one, yeah? It's alive.
Look at that.
It's alive. Okay, keep him there. Alright. Just alright. Just hold him there, okay? Just keep him there. Fucking hell. I don't know what we're gonna do. Alright, just keep him there and keep him calm, okay? Alright, just reassure him, pat him on the shoulder.
3 days underwater at 100 feet.
Okay. Alright.
He just cannot believe.
Alright, show him the harness. I'm sure he's put a harness on, working at heights. He would have done something like that. Open it, open the front.
So imagine this. They have to figure out how they're going to get this guy out of here, because he's now been at 100 feet for 3 days. Now, we, as divers, can only spend 15 minutes at that depth,
right,
or so. I'd have to check the tables again to make sure. But basically, you can't spend very much time at that depth because the nitrogen buildup in your system would be incredible. So obviously, they've got a concern of decompression sickness this guy's going to experience.
Right.
Because they're going to have to pull him straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm hearing this in the headphones, because I've been listening to it through speakers, you notice the guy's voice.
Yeah.
It's really high pitched.
Mm-hmm.
I'm be willing to bet, and there's nothing that's. I'm betting he's using a
mixed
trimix
gas,
with helium.
Yep.
Might have to adjust it for him, okay? That needs to be rotated down. Who's free flowing?
Now imagine this, ladies and gentlemen. You've never gone scuba diving before, and you're about to have, after spending 3 days, expecting your life to be over, to go through your very first experience in basically scuba diving.
Just some nice, put that tag away.
So they're going to be giving this guy
Tighten the bottom one.
the quickest and shortest of ever discovered scuba to get him from 100 feet underwater to the surface. And they've got to go through, if I've seen the longer version of this where you see the guy, the diver, working his way through the ship. So he's got to get him through the ship, and he's not going to be able to see because he's not going to be able to see anything. I mean, because the visibility is horrible.
Put him down again. Are those leg straps okay? Okay. All right. Tell him to keep drinking your water. Where's his water? Drink it, buddy. Drink it. He hasn't drunk it much, eh?
He's probably been conserving it. That's why he wasn't drinking the water.
What's wrong with it? What's cold? The water?
The water cold. Yeah, it is the water cold.
There was that overall that you... Should we not try and get him in that overall?
No, read that. It's going to stick stuff everywhere.
Okay, all right. We'll leave it at that. All right, just get him out of the water.
At 100 feet, he's going to be freezing in that water.
Absolutely. Off the coast of Nigeria.
Okay, how's the slack? Have we got enough slack to dress him?
I need a little bit more slack on Davos Reef.
Okay, can we have some more slack?
That's fine.
Back to Davos.
Okay, Davos Reef is 5 meters inside now.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's got to be helium in the system. It's got to be a trimix.
Just help. All right, he's got... See, if we had an overall, we could stuff the hot water thing in there.
They stuffed the hot water.
You can hear the bladder, or the diaphragm for the regulator
It's dry.
rattling.
Yeah, okay? Roger, check your umbilical back to the bell, check his one as well.
Though, after spending, 3 days at 100 feet, after a boat has capsized, obviously you were in the boat when it capsized, this gentleman, you're probably thinking in your head, that's it, I'm done, I'm going to die here.
Right.
I would think, decompression sickness, a little cold.
I'll deal with it.
I'll deal with it, definitely. You know what?
But see, your average person doesn't know anything
he ain't
about
gonna
that.
know. He's not gonna know that. He's just gonna experience a little bit of pain, obviously. And then of course they know because they're salvage, they're experienced, so they're gonna know. They're gonna have to put this guy, under pressure real quick. Just getting the mask on.
Yeah. Guy's got a thick head and neck. He's like, I can get this over him.
Okay? Make sure you tighten that spider like that tight, yeah?
Can you come up on 7?
Now you're going to hear both of them breathing.
Roger, in the bell, up on two's umbilical, please.
That's tough to do with the gloves on, to get that strap.
We'll stop on two, we'll stop on two. How's that looking?
I gotta say,
Can you hear me?
nice talking to the guy.
You're putting the hat on.
Cook. He was the cook.
All right, now you must.
O'Keen Harrison is his
You
name.
must listen to me, all right? All right. We're going to take you in the water, and we're going to take you to the bell, okay? And then we're going to bring you home, okay? All right.
He's laughing.
I just want you to keep calm, okay? Are you feeling okay?
Did he say that they're going to take him to the bell?
Have you got any injuries? Okay. Okay. What's your name? Harrison. Okay, Harrison. My name is Colby. Okay, and I'm going to bring you home, okay? And the diver that's helping you now, his name is Nico. Okay, that's Nico, okay? There's another guy on the outside. Free flow his hat so he doesn't get too hot. What is your rank? You're the cook. They always survive. Hold your hands, two hands, hold 2 hands, okay? Alright. Okay, Harrison, you mustn't take your hat off, okay? You must just breathe nicely, yeah? Okay. Alright, let's go. You hold your umbilical and you listen to me, okay? Alright, we're going now. Put your head underwater and breathe comfortably, okay?
Okay, and that was smart. It's like just basically do what I do in the classes. Just sit there for a little bit and just breathe with your face in the water.
Take him nice and slowly, okay? Hold your umbilical, Harrison. Don't let go, okay? We're bringing you home. Quickly, I know he's not. Alright, stick his head in.
So that's
the diving bell.
Yeah, that's the diving bell.
Well, hey, I'm taking instructions. I mean, Jesus, how am I supposed to... How are you feeling, Harrison? Alright, very good. You scared me there. Alright, you must say Roger when I'm talking to you.
You must say Roger when I'm talking to you.
Let's get him into the bell. Are you able to climb in? Open the flood up so you can climb in. Go, open the flood up. Yes, you have scared me. Head past up. I know, it looked like it, but he's so scared. He's just holding his umbilical. Yeah, don't worry. It's okay. He's in the bell now, okay? How are you in the bell, Harrison? Give me a thumbs up. Good job, my friend. Well done. You're a survivor.
Is that not incredible? That is absolutely amazing that he survived. Now, I've read some more of the story. The guy is basically, I haven't seen anything about how he's doing now. I probably could do some research on that. But basically, he was praying the whole time. He was absolutely praying the whole time. And that just shows you it works.
Someone heard.
It works.
Wow. I mean, what?
It's even more dramatic when you watch. You can, for those who are interested in following, let me redo my microphone here. For those who are interested in seeing the whole thing, you actually see him, the diver, working his way through the ship, and you see how horrible the visibility is.
Mm-hmm.
We lose our video over there. Oh, there we go. The visibility is just horrible. I mean, all you see is like the circular glare from the diver's light.
Mm-hmm.
And when it can like shine on a gangway going through some steps or something in the ship, and just the trek going through, and they're methodically going through their process. They clearly have a very good process of how they circumnavigate a wreck to look for bodies. And then suddenly, imagine you're expecting to find dead bodies, and a hand reaches out and grabs a hold of you.
Yeah, when he says, "I got one." Oh yeah, okay, you got one, and he's like, he's alive. He's
like,
just
what?
moving his hand, it was like, what?
That is,
you got a live one, great.
That is amazing.
It is truly amazing, and you know what? You got to definitely take your take your hat off to these gentlemen who do that.
DCN did a good
DCN
job.
did an awesome job. They brought back somebody who's was very, very lucky.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Just amazing.
And like I said, decompression sickness would be the last of my
yeah,
concern.
I'm on the and we've talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm teaching the class, we talk about the different options you have. Obviously, if your first case scenario is you do an alternate air assist going to the surface if you run low on air, and it works its way through. Okay, well then you're going to have to do a controlled emergency swimming ascent. Well, if you are outside of the 30-foot range trying to get to the surface and your buddy's not available, you're going to do a buoyant swimming ascent.
Mm-hmm.
And or you should know, that you are going to be experiencing some sort of DCS. If you had to come up from, let's say, 50 feet and you're just polarising to the surface, you're going to be in a world of hurts, but you're on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
You're at least rescuable at that point.
Right. If you choose to stay down because you're afraid or this and that, and obviously, you're going to run out of air, and that's not good.
Yeah.
So, wow, I'm
that just floors me. So for those who are interested, I really encourage you, go look that up on YouTube. Try to find the whole thing. You really get a good sense for the situation, and it gives you a greater appreciation for those kind of divers.
right.
I mean, we're rescue trained. That's one thing. What they did was absolutely phenomenal.
We're rescue trained in the commercial aspect. I mean, in the recreational aspect of it. These guys are professionals. They have different type of equipment. Like Robert mentioned, they're obviously breathing mixed gas, which is extremely dangerous because if you don't get the mixture right, some serious problems.
Especially considering that he was down for 3 days, breathing just regular surface air that at that point was compressed.
Mm-hmm.
Because at 100 feet, you're talking about 4 times basically the compression. And so imagine the air bubble that was in there at the surface got shrunk 4 times.
Yeah. So, but those commercial rescuers and commercial divers, those guys are awesome at what they do. That's what they do. So you got to definitely congratulate them and take their hands off to that. That's awesome.
That was just so amazing to me.
And he was cool. The diver, he was expecting to find dead bodies. He found a live one. Got the equipment down there. Was calm, and just went through the steps and was able to rescue that guy.
Absolutely remarkable. So it just goes to show you, and this guy think about this, in his condition, not mentally prepared to be scuba diving, was able to work his way through a scuba diving experience with 0 training. So imagine how easy it's going to be for you as a potential student to go through the course when you've got the academics that you get to complete, and then all the formal training, in water training that you're going to get. If this guy can do it, anybody can do it. Yeah. And we're going to be talking a little bit later about the 10 most common myths of scuba, or misconceptions of scuba diving. Next up, I want to talk about, there's an organization called reefball.org. And that kind of sounds funny. But what they do is they create these concrete artificial reefs. Now, for those who are scuba divers or are at least familiar with scuba diving, you know that there are a lot of ships that are deliberately prepared for sinking so that they become an artificial reef. And if they're large enough, a lot of times they also help control surge too, especially once you get a reef system growing on it. And that's one of the kinds of diving that Tara and I love to do. We love to dive on wrecks. So getting to dive on a shipwreck that's been prepared as a reef is awesome. But that's not always the most practical because you have to do all sorts of cleaning, making it environmentally safe, cutting safety holes out of it, and then all the preparation for detonations because you have to have it's like collapsing a building. You have to have properly set charges that open up areas in the ship so it sinks the right way to become a properly controlled descent and a good artificial reef. That's expensive. Not to mention the chances of dangerous, things like an explosion going off the wrong way, or it not sinking correctly, and somebody, there's all sorts of things that can happen. Well, this organization called reefball.org. Let me pull up their website here. They create these artificial reef balls. And here's some pictures of what they do. And so you may have seen some of these in different dive locations if you dive a lot of the areas, like in the Keys, or some of they're international. I mean, they go internationally. They've produced literally tons of these. Well, they just recently started deploying a new design. You see the ones that they typically have, and that most people that are familiar with this recognize. They look like little wiffle balls or something like that. But they're pretty good size, as you can see by this one picture. But now they've started creating what they call a cake layer version. And it allows them actually to do some pretty interesting things. Let's see if I can pull this picture up. Oh, it's not showing it. You can do what they call they have like the reef ball, the mangrove reef ball. Where obviously they can grow the mangroves because those are like trees that kind of on stilts. So the the root system is actually not fully planted in the soil. It's a lot of it is above. It's in the water, freestanding.
Right.
But with the new cake layer designs, they can stack them certain ways and actually create some more interesting designs. So they've started deploying those. It's amazing. You also see some companies or some people get artistic. There are a number of artificial reefs that are made up of sculptures.
Yeah.
We've been diving, Tara and I have been diving, as millions have, at the Christ of the Abyss, which is an awesome dive. But there are artists out there who will make out of cement or other durable materials, will do all sorts of sculptures, like make a whole crowd of people out of concrete underwater.
Didn't they make one? I think it was of like how back in the the Chinese dynasty days where you had those Japanese warriors lined up like in front of the tombs.
Oh yeah.
Didn't they have one of those underwater? Let's
do a search.
I think I saw one where they actually had the warriors underwater.
I'm looking to see if there are any images of. I just did a search on. Oh, here we go. There we go.
I'd like to put one of those here at the lake.
Oh, wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, just give somebody else to, something to dive on and take a look at. But it's got to be deep, though, it's got to be worth like.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. Let's see, underwater. You said it was Japan?
Yeah, Japanese warriors, I think it would. Chinese warriors.
Here we go. Look at these.
Yeah, there you go.
These are amazing.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just as remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
That would be awesome to dive on. Kind of creepy, but it would be awesome to dive on. Wow. That's just amazing to me. But yeah, that would make for a remarkable dive opportunity. Diving on any kind of stuff like this. What great pictures you could get.
Yeah,
there we go. There we go.
Yeah, there was somebody had done something like that.
Wow. That would be creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. There you go. After corals already started growing. Wow. That would be disconcerting. There's a body underneath there. Got a French angel right there. Oh, neat. Oh, that would be very creepy. Because look at that. You got like silt or something kicked up there. That gives it a very ghostly sense to it. That's amazing. But yeah. So they're expanding their reef system design. So if you find yourself looking for a cause because they're a nonprofit, if you're looking for a cause to support, that would be, and you're into diving and ecology, especially the ocean ecology, that might be a worthwhile organization to donate your money to, or even time to. I imagine you could connect with them if you're an experienced diver and help to deploy some of these.
Yeah.
Or if you live in an area where you think some the reef system could use some help. Because it's often difficult in areas where coral systems have been depleted or otherwise damaged because of fishing or boating accidents. Any number of things can cause it. Storms.
Yeah.
This is a good way to quickly start a rebuild.
I think a lot of it has to do with probably damage from boating, or the fishing industry tends to kind of ruin everything because they drag their nets on the bottom.
Sometimes they can, yeah, absolutely.
They drag their nets on the bottom of the ocean floor, and of course that's where this stuff grows.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would like to put something like that here at the lake.
That would be awesome.
Maybe just a statue, but make it somewhere neat, somewhere deep.
Well, we could always go to one of these places out here outside of town that does all the concrete stuff.
Yeah,
we could have a chimenea farm down there.
Hey.
We have chimeneas out the kazoo. I mean, it's just everywhere. All these little places you go that sell pottery and yard furniture. They typically will sell a bunch of those chimeneas. We have one on our porch back here.
We've seen barbecue pits, lawn
yes, we
chairs,
have big umbrellas, deck umbrellas.
Deck umbrellas. Robert did a dive. We were doing a dive up by Governor's Landing one time, and we found a lawn chair.
It was awesome.
Been there for like a long time. You could tell it was all silted up. Robert actually kind of saw it, and I knew because I was going to do it, but he beat me to it. He just kind of like swam up and just easily glided down and sat in the chair. It
was so awesome. All I needed was an empty beer bottle to set that image.
God, it would have been perfect. And he gets up, and the lawn chair is exactly where it was when we found it.
Buoyancy control is important, boys and girls.
Yeah, when you find stuff like that, don't move it. Just leave it as is.
Yeah.
Unless
you really do intend on, and if it's not damaging like a reef system or something, which out at Lake Amistad you're not going to have a reef system. But if you really do intend on removing it to be properly disposed of, that's one thing. But unless you really are going to do that, just
clean up.
It.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just going to move it to just throw it around and just leave it alone.
Yep.
Yeah, and a lot of times we're like, we'll see stuff like that. I'll see stuff and I'll point stuff out, and usually I'll kind of just look at it, and then I just leave. We leave it alone. We just leave it where we found it.
Yeah.
Try not to mess with stuff that's been there already for a while.
Yep. Last week I was showing showing folks. Troy was here. I was showing some pictures of Lake Amistad. I went out there and just took some shots of the lake way up.
Is it? How is it now?
Well, it's about the level that you showed me the picture of. So the dive chest is right. It's partially in the water.
Okay.
But did you know? I didn't even notice in your picture. Did you notice they extended the walk? The walkway.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Let me see if I can pull up. I may have not deleted that picture. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. The walkway is much longer than it normally is. I have a picture, I think. Put up here. Let me open it with. Come on, Windows Photo Viewer. There we go. Let me bring this over to our screen region.
Oh, they definitely extended it.
Yeah, I was like, let me see if I can shrink this.
They even put extra steps. You know what? Maybe now that would be a little easier to dive on.
Yeah, definitely. But it kind of, let me see if I can screen reader that show. Yeah, there we go. Just kind of superimposed it. So you can see here the older walkway. That's where it stopped. And they added all this in, even put nice little yellow markers on the steps. And it literally goes, I didn't show the picture that goes all the way down. It's only about 3 or 4 feet away from the dive chest. So needless to say, once the lake does come up to its normal level, which is about where you see the yellow steps there, it's going to be very easy to navigate out to the dive chest. You just have to follow the walkway.
Just follow the walkway.
That's just not right.
Well, at least you don't have to. You won't get lost. Just follow the golden path.
But you still have to do your navigation out to the small boat and big boat. So yeah. So anyway, let me switch back here. So anyway, yeah, it's and the water temp last week was about 64. 64.
It's cooling down.
Yep. So definitely at least the 5 mil. Probably would be real nice and toasty in the 7 mil. Too much colder and we start talking this dry suit folks, dry suit diving time. But the visibility is very good.
Oh, wow.
At least it looks like that from the surface. So it might be 15 feet or more. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, get to 20 feet and I'm going to be a real big happy camper. So I'm going to be trying, if we can get it looks like the temperature is going to start slowly coming back up. We'll be moving into the 50s. But if we can get back into the 60s, I would like to try and get a nice calm day. I don't want a bunch of wind. I definitely want to get a dive in.
So you wouldn't trek a dive in the 50s?
Not on the outside. I mean, we already done that trick when we dove at the springs. It was 40 degrees outside.
I think it was a little chillier than that. I want to push. I think.
Well, with the wind chill because it was pretty breezy when we got out.
Oh man, you know what? I actually think it was. If I'm not mistaken, Rob, I think it was 40 degrees, and then with the wind chill, it was probably like 32 degrees.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And then it was raining when we got out, so it was a little chilly.
Yeah,
very awesome dive.
Yes, and dangerous.
Yeah, how many people get to do that? But granted, we were working, and the task that they wanted us to do was move big boulders. Yeah. And then we had to go underneath the boulders to put these straps. And then, of course, we moved out of the way as they were hauling them out. But it was very dangerous. I mean, we were in, Rob and I were in angles of, if something slips or something goes wrong
we're pinned.
That's it. It's over.
Yeah.
I mean, the rocks. Oh, I don't even want to get into it.
Yeah.
I got cut. I had a tetanus shot.
That's right. You had to go visit the hospital.
I had to go to the hospital after that dive. It was very, very interesting.
There was a big old wrench down there too. That thing was a monster. I'm like, golly, and all sorts of tools, and then of course a bunch of golf balls we saw.
Yeah,
That was
golf
amazing.
balls. That was crazy. They were like floating in the air. Like
That was so neat, just because the strength of the spring was so much. You could just let go of the golf ball in the mid water and just watch it go.
it would just stay there floating
great.
in midair. You know, it was funny because we're there supposed to be getting these straps out, and we're too busy playing.
Playing with the golf balls underwater. You know, you got to take your entertainment where you can. You know, you're working in intense conditions like that. You need a little mental break from a little break here and there.
And you know what? I kind of actually asked from the time that they've actually did the excavation of the actual thing and everything like that. There's only been, I think, 7 people that have dove.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we were.
I'm surprised that we haven't gotten another call, though. I really am. Okay, so kind of tying into what we were talking about earlier, in addition to especially this incredible rescue, as you saw, that guy came from a treacherous situation, a nearly fatal situation, to literally scuba diving through a wreck, which I don't recommend if you haven't had the proper training and don't have the right equipment. But of course, obviously, he was led by somebody who knew what he was doing. That there are a lot of myths about, or misconceptions about, scuba diving, and so we're going to share a few of those and kind of discuss a little bit, just briefly, what those things are. So the first one is that diving is dangerous. So your thoughts?
Obviously, it can be if you don't have the proper training or you actually dive outside of your skill set.
Right.
Right. You know, a lot of times new divers go and want to, you know, they experience, but of course, you know, if you're taught well and your instructor's, you know, a properly trained and good instructor, they're going to keep advising you through the training, you know, do not dive outside your skill set or your comfort level or
Absolutely.
actually certification level. But you always get those that just want to, you know, they're going on a trip or whatever. And yes,
they're
you know,
super diver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can easily get taken by the view and the clarity of the water if you're going to dive in the ocean. And before you know it, you're at 100+ feet of water, and you don't really notice it because everything's so pretty. So be careful with that. And I think it can be dangerous if you are like that, like he mentioned. You know, if you don't have the right mentality in going into it.
Well, and the statistics show that actually scuba diving has about the same risk rate as bowling. Believe it or not. So the kinds of danger that you can get yourself into are purely going to be you're going to invite trouble upon yourself because you're going to get the appropriate training. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter which agency you go with. You're going to get the appropriate training. And so if you stick to your training and follow the rules and just with the mindset of I'm going to enjoy this, you're not going to have any trouble. You don't push yourself past your own experience. And so it's actually much safer than a lot of other activities like skydiving. That's more dangerous.
Oh, of course.
All right, so number 2, dive theory is confusing. Okay, thoughts on that?
I don't.
Thinking about it in the context of the basic open water class.
I don't see how it can be confusing. I mean, it's gone over thoroughly. I just don't see that one. I don't see how that.
And there's not a lot of it because a lot of people have the preconception that when you're going to go through the class, you're going to learn all this stuff about physiology and stuff. No, that's not until you get into the more advanced courses, especially dive master.
Right, to dive. That's what I kind of was talking over with a buddy actually just the other day. You know, telling him, well, you know, I got to finish up all of my academic stuff. And he was like, well, is it a lot? And I kind of pull out, the bag, and I'm
Yeah.
like, this is it. I go, there's a lot of theory. There's gas laws, and there's more stuff that
Right.
gets into it. But for basic open water and advanced open water, you don't have any of that. You maybe for the rescue diver, there's a little bit more, but it's
Right.
more physical
Yeah.
than actually more theory.
All you're
theory-based.
really learning as part of the basic class is the understanding of what happens to air at pressure
right
and how it interacts with your body. It's at a fairly superficial level. It's more to help you understand that you have to respect the conditions that you're in. You have to respect the fact that you're diving in under pressure and what air does. It's not learning a bunch of formulas or anything.
No.
It's simply, okay, matter of fact, probably the most complex thing you learn that has to do with dive theory is going to be how much air compresses at various depths. And that is the most simple of formulas. And you go down an extra atmosphere, it cuts the volume in half.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's that simple. It's basic stuff. So it's not really complicated, and it's not something you're necessarily going to actually use as a diver. It's just, again, to help you understand what's going on in your body and in your equipment
right
while you're diving.
And also, with that, in that respect, with the equipment, the way dive gear is now, you can get a computer that's going to do all of that for you.
Yeah.
So, you got computers that monitor your heart rate, underwater. Who does that? But it's
Right.
out there if you need it. And but it is, it's good for you to know so that you have a better understanding of, what's going on.
Absolutely.
But I don't know why that would be.
There's a lot of people that
Wow.
Well, I would imagine that there are probably some instructors or divers even, especially if they're advanced or have one of the advanced certifications, that try to scare off some people.
Well,
And
try
so-
to say, okay, look, I'm such a, bad A,
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
this is what I've done or whatever. I'm not gonna lie. Up until the advance, it was okay. The rescue diver training and probably from there up, it is very challenging. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
One, you have to be mentally prepared. And that's where you go from your basic to your advanced certification.
Yeah.
You got to get dives logged in because you have to be comfortable with your own skill sets at that point.
Right.
To where it's like second nature for you. So for that, I can, I will say that, and I'll say that
Yeah.
with confidence that it was challenging.
Yeah. But as your basic diver going in from
No.
scratch, our Mr. Harrison there got zero dive theory.
He got zero dive theory.
And he was doing stuff. He was being forced into a situation that not even you and I would be in, having to go through a full decompression regimen and everything.
But knowing, having been diving, we would know, okay, I've been underwater for a while.
Right.
Something's got to be done. So,
Right.
you know what? Once the boat gets to the surface, I'm not stepping out of this thing
That's right, till they have a chamber ready for
until
me.
they have a chamber ready.
Is my chamber ready? Yes.
Just
All
bring me
right.
some food.
Exactly.
Bring me some food, some water, and put me in my chamber.
And a good TV program. There we go. Does this have satellite? Okay. Diving is expensive.
All right.
It can be.
It can be.
But off the top of your head, what's the cheapest that somebody can get into diving?
The cheapest that somebody can get into diving totally, well, not including class, of course. I'm referring to gear. About $400.
I would say even less. The classes are not that expensive. As a matter of fact, you can shop around. Depending where you're at, the competition may be stiff enough that you can get classes for under $300
Mm-hmm.
if the competition is stiff. Now, sometimes they'll lowball you the training, but then tell you have to rent the gear.
Yeah.
But the way I do it, the gear use is all in there. The only thing you can get into diving with just mast fins and snorkel.
Yeah.
Really, because then all you have to do is you just rent the gear as part of your dive trip. So you would only be spending that extra money of the moment. And even rentals in most places that have a pretty thriving dive community, dive competition, are not going to be very expensive at all.
No.
It's if you dive a lot, you need to start thinking about buying your own equipment. But even, as you said, if you decide, and I encourage it, if you decide to buy your own equipment, $400, you can get your basic system.
Right, and that keeps you diving. And it's good equipment. We've discussed this in the past.
Yep.
It's got to meet safety regulations and whatnot. So it is going to do what it needs to do. I mean, it might not be the high end stuff, but it's good for you to first start. So there's no excuse why you can't do it. And again, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
As you go on, and if you want to pursue, further, certification, not that you have to buy new gear, but you'll start realizing why certain gear does certain things and things. So then it may prompt you to want to, okay, well, I'm going to invest in a new regulator, or I'm going to invest in a new BC that has, more rings and more pockets and just different things, and that comes later with your experience in diving.
Yep. All right, number 4. It takes too long to learn. It really doesn't.
No.
It really doesn't. Depending on where you are and what kind of time you have available, it can be anywhere from a few weeks to a couple of weeks. The way we work it is you get your student materials and you're doing the self-study. It's got DVD and the book and dive tables. You do all the self-study, and then we're able to get your all your in-water stuff done across a weekend. It's a very intense weekend, but you can get it all. You can get all that done across a full weekend. So it's really what you have available and how the dive operation has it structured.
Right.
They even have the e-learning. So you can really take as long as you want to with just doing the academic part online, and then you just get with your instructor to get the in-water portion.
I figured it doesn't take very long. I mean, it's as fast as you want. I guess you and the instructor, if you guys can come to that arrangement.
That's right.
But once you do your self-study material, if the instructor says, okay, well, I'm ready, whenever you are, okay, well, I've already done the self-study, let's get it gone.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a weekend. It's a very task-loaded weekend for you, but it can, and that's how that's how you do it. So.
Right. So
I mean, we did ours all in. When I got my basic, it was pretty fast.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Number 5. Animals are too dangerous.
All right. The biggest thing I always get, you dive here at the lake.
Right.
Yes. What about those gars? The alligator gars. You know what? And I've said this until I'm blue in the face. Back when I used to bow hunt for fish, and the only thing I'd probably catch is carp because it's the only thing in shallow water. It's disgusting, dirty fish. But I have had the run-ins with the alligator gar. Usually they're in shallow, murky water.
Right.
There and I've yet to ever see one in open water.
Yeah.
We've dove. I haven't obviously dove the whole lake, but we've dove in different places, and I've never seen one.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in the ocean, as long as you leave it alone.
That's right. You don't antagonize the wildlife. It's not going to antagonize you. I've got video of a shark cruising by all of us divers, and it didn't care. We didn't go chasing after it to poke at it or annoy it or anything. We just let it be and just respected its space and just were impressed that we saw it. The other kinds of lionfish, yes, they're very poisonous. You just don't get on top of them and to where they want to defend themselves.
Yeah.
All of your typical injuries or fatalities underwater have stemmed from somebody stupidly antagonizing the wildlife.
Yeah. It's like that, that bully in the schoolyard.
Yes.
You know he can whoop you, okay? Just leave him alone.
That's right.
Just leave him alone and he'll leave you alone.
Absolutely
And
right.
it's the same thing.
As a matter of fact, if you look statistically, all the shark attacks happen with swimmers, not with scuba divers. Because it's hard for a shark to mistake you for its food underwater.
Yeah.
It's easy for it to mistake you for food if you're at the surface and all it sees is a foot or an arm flailing around, splashing like an injured fish.
Yeah.
So the danger from the animals underwater, it's all going to be on you. It's all going to be on you. I have never, ever had a dangerous encounter underwater. Tara has never had a dangerous encounter underwater. You have never had a dangerous encounter. Unless it was brought on by ourselves.
Probably the most dangerous that I have, or the most injuries that I've had,
was another diver.
Was from another diver, actually. And not only that, too, when we dove the spring was probably the most dangerous because of the environment.
And that was technically not recreational. Even though we were staying within recreational limits, that was not a recreational dive.
It wasn't a recreational dive.
Yeah.
It was actually what we call like a work dive.
Yeah.
But the area where we were diving was a very, I would call it a hostile environment.
Yeah.
Because of the water pressure pushing out of the rocks for
and
millions
the sharpness of the rocks.
They were very sharp.
Yes.
I ended up getting cut. And then, of course, we were working, so I got cut with material that was actually dropped in there. I mean, aluminum cans and bottles, and I mean, there was glass. It was crazy.
Yeah. All right, number 6 on our hit parade here. You're getting a lot of messages, aren't you? Too much equipment to buy. Well, as we said earlier, you can get into it with just mast fins and snorkel. And really, on top of that, if you buy your own equipment as a basic diver, adding on to your personal equipment, which is your mask, fin, snorkel, wetsuit, is your BC, your regulator, primary and alternate, and your console. Yeah. And it can be analog. You don't have to go for a computer, although the computers are so inexpensive now to get as an entry level with a lot of capability. Why not? Mm-hmm. So you're adding basically 3 pieces of equipment, and as we said, $400 you can get in the door.
Yeah, with the computer.
Yeah.
So I mean, I remember when I first got mine, it was.
You spent even more for yours than I did for mine, and I didn't go on the real cheap with mine either.
Yeah, but there was it was the I want to say it was the location where I got it, plus not to mention the brand that I got too.
Yeah.
It was
well, you got good quality stuff.
Yeah.
Big name brand. Yeah. But you don't have to go with the big name brand. There's a lot of subsidiary brands. They're usually affiliated with the big brands, but
well, honestly, when I got my gear, some of the companies that are out now offering really good discount on gear weren't around.
That's true.
They started actually. They barely started coming out with some of that stuff.
Yeah.
At the time, I remember I was doing research, and Aqualung, Scuba Pro, Cresci.
Yeah.
Of course, Sherwood was one of the most expensive out there.
Yeah.
And then you had Genesis as part of Sherwood, which is the gear that you had. Mm-hmm. There wasn't very many. I don't remember very many manufacturers making. Equipment. But now you have a whole bunch of them.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of up and comings, a lot of what you call store brands, which are basically, again, affiliated with some other company. Mm-hmm. That's just like, okay, we're making this. We're not spending a lot on the advertising or fancy looks to it for style. It's functional, good, solid functional gear.
Right.
So, oh, wow. There go the dogs. Excitement.
Oh.
There we go. Where am I at? Number 7. Where are you, number 7? You must be young and in shape. Well, I'm not young. I'm 51 this year.
I'm 42.
And a darn good-looking 51. Thank you very much.
I'm 42.
And I'm not in the best of shape, but I'm in pretty good shape.
Now, I would say that you are in good shape.
But we, your witness, we had my oldest student, 66 years old.
Yeah.
The guy was about as frail as they get.
Oh,
but
my
you
gosh.
get. Here's the thing: you get in the water. It's all about relaxing. It's all about keeping a slow, steady pace. It's not a huge, high impact exercise.
Yeah, the it I'm having flashbacks of that training. Anyway,
Yeah.
it was a very interesting training. At the time, I was helping Robert with his students, and as part of the dive master training is you got to do kind of like an internship. So I was kind of helping out at that time, and man, you talk about some challenges. You will run into some challenges. This gentleman was very cool. He was just very nice and everything else. But like Rob says, he was really frail outside of the water.
Yeah.
But once he got in the water,
He was fine.
He was fine. I mean, he was gliding. He was awesome. It was.
I've taught very large people.
Yeah.
And so there's all sorts of challenges that you can experience, but basically if you are not dealing with some sort of a chronic problem, and there is a medical checklist of questions that you're asked that you have to fill out, and if you answer yes to any of these, you have to go get a physician to sign off. And I've had people, my last group of students, they were in my age range or a little older. And they had some medications, heart or whatever. And they got the doctor to sign off. They were good to go. I mean, he happened to be a pilot. So obviously there's some challenges there because you're dealing with high G and pressure suits and things like that. So if the doctor is signing him off for that, he had no problem signing him off for scuba diving. You don't have to be some triathlete or a marathon runner. You just have to be in good enough shape that you can handle diving under pressure. Likely, the places that you're going to dive are going to be places where they take care of you. They pull your gear together, they take it and get you into the water with it, and those kinds of things. And I assist my students. I mean, they obviously have to put their gear together because that's part of the training. But I don't necessarily, if they look like they're going to have a hard time carrying the gear to the water, I'm going to help them out with it. That's no problem. So your dive situation, even if you're diving with your buddy, you're going to help each other out. Again, you don't have to be in primo shape or very young at all to do it. Tara and I, on one of our trips to Florida, we were diving our last couple days there. We were diving in Boca Raton. And one of the guys, we were diving with a bunch of locals. One of the guys there was a Monsignor. He was a priest. The guy was 70 plus years old, tall, really, really, really frail. I mean, one of those that kind of does one of these numbers on the boat, and you had to hold on to him so he didn't fall and hurt himself on the boat. But they'd been diving with him before, and he was evidently quite the photographer, and he had this monster camera with the strobes and everything. He was huge. And so they had to help him into the water, and they handed him his gear. He slipped into it. They handed him his camera and slipped. He got that all rigged up. Once he was underwater, man, that was his element. Absolutely in his element. I mean, he was totally in control. So you don't have to be in tremendous shape. You just need to be able to either pass the questions properly in the medical statement or get a physician to sign off on you if there's some issues there. All right. Number 8. Must be an expert swimmer. How about not?
No, not an expert swimmer.
But you must be able to swim.
You got to be able to swim. I mean,
There is a 200-yard requirement and a 10-minute float.
yeah.
Water.
I think the hardest thing that I had to do was the float because I can't float very well.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know,
And it's really a tread water. I mean, you can float or whatever, but it's a tread water. So if you can kick yourself in place.
you just got to kind of move around a little
Yeah.
bit. It's just as long as you're, you know, you just don't go underwater.
Right.
But I mean, I did it, and I did it in my birthday suit.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
long
story all by itself.
Yeah, but anyhow,
But it's not a timed swim.
no.
My wife, she did the dog paddle basically the whole way. And that's fine. It's just, can you get from point A to point B? That's it. Because you might be in a situation where you have to ditch your gear and you have to swim to a boat or to shore or to a dock or something like that. It's all of the things that you learn in the class are for self-rescue kind of situations. They're self-assistant to get you their trouble solving skills.
You know, I my swimming wasn't bad when I first took the class. It was okay. I mean, we swim here at the lake, you know, and stuff. But I did notice that as you know, the more scuba diving that I did, I actually got more confident in my swimming.
Yeah.
So like now swimming is like no problem at all.
Yes.
You know, I just jump in the water and
Exactly.
just, you know, go. Give me a pair of fins. Oh man,
Screaming.
I'm like I'm fine. You know, I don't even need a mask. Just give me some fins and I'll swim anywhere.
Which by the way, bears reminding that you can do this with the mask and the fins, but it's a longer distance. It's 300 yards.
Yeah.
So you can do it with that if you just flat out can't handle it with the without those, but it's a longer swim if you do. But you don't have to be excellent. You don't have to be an expert swimmer to do it.
Yeah.
All right, boy, the dogs are really going crazy out there today. Number 9, you'll feel claustrophobic.
I've been asked this question as well.
Me too.
About, you know, the mask and everything else. And the thing that I experienced, speaking from my own experience, I had a mask that actually had the black skirt. Yeah. So it actually didn't let very much light into the mask. I wasn't claustrophobic, but it actually restricted my view.
Right.
So, but I noticed that it was something that I had to get used to. It was a little like, okay, I kind of getting tunnel vision or whatever.
Right.
But then I quickly switched out and got a mask with a clear skirt, and it let more light in, so it looked more, you know, brighter and everything else. So, but as far as claustrophobic, I would say I've not experienced that. I guess maybe I could see how some people may do that, but it's something that overcomes. I had a friend, Monica, actually, who I've not dove with in a while.
Yeah.
But she suffered from something that would periodically come, but it would only come during the off season when she wasn't diving. Once she started diving again, her first dive was always a little rough because she would get the squeeze from the suit and stuff. But once she did that, it was okay. I guess that would fall under, I guess, a little claustrophobia because she couldn't move.
Well, that was my wife's kind of fear going in, and when we got her through trying just breathing, kind of like what you saw in the video, where he said, "Okay, just stick your face in the water with the gear and just breathe normally," because that's the shock. I'm breathing in an environment that I shouldn't be able to breathe in, and you know that first deer in the headlights look.
Yeah.
That Tara got when she first stuck her face in the water breathing on scuba. Thing is, as you said, you can get equipment that gives you maximum visibility, and it's actually much more freeing because you're getting air fed to you. Yeah. It's very easy to breathe on scuba. You mentally make it harder, but it's very easy to overcome that. I have yet to find somebody who could not overcome the initial shock of breathing underwater to where it's just second nature. It's all the other little skills that can become challenging depending on what your mental state is. But the actual experience of breathing underwater is actually very freeing.
Yeah.
You find that the only thing that might make you feel claustrophobic is if you're diving in really, really bad visibility, in which case that's a situation where, as we've said before, any reason is a good reason to call a dive. Okay.
Yeah.
So if the visibility is such that you're not comfortable, then you just don't dive. But don't let the idea or the thought of having low visibility be the thing that stops you from diving, because most of the places that people go to dive are going to have tremendously good visibility.
Right.
And eventually, hopefully, you get to a point where you require less visibility to be comfortable, to just enjoy the experience of diving.
Right. Well, I mentioned this before. My second dive, my second open water dive was actually a night dive.
Yeah.
With you.
Yeah.
And the visibility was just horrible that day. I could probably see maybe a foot in front of me. Remember? I mean, it was bad, but still, at that point, I would have said, okay, that would be the reason if I suffer from claustrophobia.
Yeah.
That was gonna be it.
Yeah.
But no, I really was more comfortable diving at that like that. It was, which is why I like night diving.
Love night diving.
Love night diving. It just puts me in a different state of mind. It's just unbelievable.
Nice.
And then you hear Barry too.
Well worth the trip right there. Last but not least, and talking about that, you need to live near tropics.
That
You've been diving all these years and you've yet to go to the tropics.
Yeah, I would say no on that one. I mean, anytime, anywhere, whether it be a pool, a creek,
A lot of people miss out on prime opportunities to go diving. Now, there are always, and this is true in the ocean too, there are good times to dive in a particular body of water, and there are bad times to dive in a particular body of water. We had planned a big dive trip down to the Corpus Port Aransas area, and we had this dam break that caused because we had huge storms, had this dam break that all this water went flying down the Rio Grande and dumped into the Texas Gulf Coast. Absolutely killed visibility.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that's tropical area, killed visibility, and so it ruined our trip. We weren't able to go. You pick the time and you pay attention to the conditions. You can always find places to dive. If you really are serious about diving, there's so many different opportunities, and I would say you're missing out on prime diving chances by only letting yourself dive in tropical areas.
Yeah, we know a couple of people like that.
Yeah. I love diving out here at the lake. I know a lot of people that don't, and there are times when I don't. But generally speaking, I really do enjoy it, and so I really look for those periods when the visibility is acceptable, and I can go to a good spot that I like to dive on.
Yeah.
Diving San Felipe Creek is an experience all by itself.
Yeah.
It's shallow, but it's fun. I wouldn't want to make that my only diving location, but if I got nothing else and I really want to get a dive in, I've gone out there just to cruise up and down the creek.
And then the current's kind of strong, so you're
gives you
using
some good experience too.
Some experience, your skill sets from zigzagging.
Balmarais.
Awesome.
It is great, and you've seen some videos, many videos that we've put up here of diving in Balmarais. That's 21 feet, and it's diving in a U.
Yeah,
and it's great. A little bit of a drive, but not bad.
It's not bad though. It's cool. It's a trek, but it's a nice getaway.
Yeah.
Then there's the fish, and everything is cool.
Yeah. All right, so that is, I'll put up here one more time. So that's the 10 most common scuba diving misconceptions. And hopefully we've allayed your fears about those things. It's not that bad. And anytime you want to ask us about it, we'll be happy to share with you our recommendations, our thoughts on any other questions that you might have about scuba diving. Because there are tons of those myths. I mean, and please, there are no sharks in Lake Amistad.
No.
You just can't. No.
You know, the stories about, like, again, I mentioned the alligator guards.
Yeah.
Yes, they're there, but I have never, ever seen one in open water. The enormous catfish that can suck up a man whole.
No, we've seen some big catfish.
Yeah, I've seen some big catfish. I mean, maybe my arm might go into its mouth, but
I don't noodle, so
yeah. But then again, you know, you look at these things and you just pretty much like, you're in awe because you're seeing them. They're cool.
Yes.
But you don't mess with them. Usually they'll stay in one spot, and if they don't like your company, they'll gladly, you know,
they'll move on.
They'll move away. You follow it a little bit, but you don't touch it.
That's right.
And then if it really doesn't want to be bothered, it'll move away from you so fast you're not even going to be able to catch up to it anyhow.
Right.
So,
well, let's see. We're running late as always, and I know you're dealing with a little bit of a sinus headache. So just one last thing I want to hit for tonight. I'll save one other thing for next week. Is earlier this week we noticed on Facebook, a friend of ours was posting about a meeting being held at a local animal rescue or pet rescue organization, nonprofit called A Pet's Wish. And so it's kind of nice that I've got Greza sitting up here on my lap. And they were announcing that they were basically closing their doors until further notice.
right.
They're having a tough time because it's all volunteer driven. They do a tremendously tough work in rescuing abandoned, abused, neglected animals and trying to find new homes for them. And they have an amazing setup considering that they have, you know, it's a nonprofit and they virtually have no money. This is truly a labor of love. And so we love these little animals so much. So Tara and I went by there to kind of talk to them at that meeting, find out what it's all about. And let me bring their website up. They have a great operation. This is their Facebook page. They have a great operation, dedicated people, but they just don't have enough volunteers to help. And they have a regular routine at 9:00 in the morning. Matter of fact, let me throw their little schedule up. They basically have a setup where they have volunteers working with one of their actual, I guess you really can't say employees, but people who have been there, who know the ropes. Mm-hmm. So you don't do this by yourself. But they have a routine where they basically it takes about an hour once you get your routine down. About 9:00 in the morning, if you get a couple of people together in kind of 2-person teams with one of their people, it goes by pretty quick. And you're basically just it's a routine of feeding all the dogs and the cats, putting them outside, putting them outside in pens so they can get some air time, mm-hmm. cleaning they're all crated, they're all caged, clean those out, and then bringing them back in, finishing the process, cleaning the bowls, everything's very sanitary, cleaning up any messes that maybe are there. They have a 9:00 and a 6 p.m. time they do this. Now they also have, as you can see on the calendar here, they have adoption events, which I didn't realize till I saw a message that they were doing an event at our mall. They do a lot of events actually out of town because they have a better chance of adopting animals out to people who are going to take care of them. To be honest, there is a culture in the Del Rio area of acquiring animals and then abandoning them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But evidently in places like San Antonio, it's not as bad. And so they've actually shipped off pets all over the country for somebody who's looking for a specific type of dog. They're like, hey, I want one of those. And we happen to have one.
Yeah.
And guess what? Here's all the deal. And they get them shipped out. And then tomorrow, they did one today. It started at 11 o'clock. And they've got one. And it continues on tomorrow at the mall at 1 o'clock. So we'll probably stop by there and kind of help out if we can. But they are really desperate to get dedicated people to help out. And you don't have to do this every day. If you can only be available for maybe a Monday, let's say that you can do the feeding and cleaning one Monday every 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
One Monday afternoon, maybe you can't do the mornings or something like that. They'll take what they can get, because if you can get more people, you can spread it amongst more people, and it's not such a burden for those who are volunteering. But they're down to 4 people who are doing all the work.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And unfortunately, I feel really bad about this. They had their event today, but they didn't have anybody who had volunteered to do the feeding and everything this evening. So by the time I saw that, it was well past that, and I felt bad about it. But so if you are in the Del Rio area and you feel it in your heart that you would like to be able to help out with this very, very worthwhile organization, and the animals are such little darlings. I mean, they have some big ones there too.
Yeah, they do.
But they're just sweethearts. It's well worth it. It's a great cause. It's a great organization. Please contact them. They're, again, if you're in the Del Rio area, you can go just look up A Pet's Wish on Facebook to get more information, or you can go down to their location. They actually the use of this building, I guess, was donated to them. They're right next door to the Emporium, which is a really nice place to get. It's a nice old style soda jerk place. You can get great malts there, and they have all sorts of little
good
trinkets
coffee.
and stuff. Yeah, all sorts of stuff you can get there. It's a great place. But right next door is A Pet's Wish.
Yeah.
And so highly recommend, if you want to volunteer, just even a little bit of time, it's well worth it.
Yeah, the building itself actually belongs to Nick Kerr, the owner of Ram Country, Toyota and Dodge and everything.
Yeah.
So, big shout out to him. Thank you for allowing these people to use, that facility for this worthy cause. So
they also look for people who can foster animals.
Yes.
In other words, maybe you can't adopt one, but you might be able to foster one for a while because they have very limited space there.
Right. There was one of my neighbors that lived catty corner from us. They went back, I believe, to it was way up north. They were down here because her husband had got a job across the river at one of the maquilas, but he decided, he got shipped back to where he was from. They would foster animals there, and awesome. they had a whole bunch of them there. Her name was Donna, and they actually, when they went back, they had acquired a car.
Oh, wow!
They had acquired a car that they decided to donate to A Pet's Wish
for the cause. Wow!
Yeah, for the cause. So when they went back, and it was all over Facebook and everything else. So she was my neighbor.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
So that's cool.
All right, real quick before we head out of here, let's do some administrivia. Okay, next Dive Club meeting is January 16th at 7 p.m. at Rudy's Restaurant for great food and just a great time just to relax.
My baked potato, my baby Ray.
That's right, sweet baby Ray. Again, dive classes by special request only, and you're going to have to pay through the nose if you're going to do it now. Oh, tremendous.
Robert just loves diving in cold water. So
I'll do it just to get one out of the way, but not spending a whole weekend doing it. And just let you know, our exciting 2014 movie list episode is coming up. This will be our first episode in the new year. We'll be looking at that. Troy's already building up his list.
Oh, okay.
So if you haven't been started, you better get to going, man.
Well, I'm pretty sure Troy will cover all the Disney movies. So
yeah. Oh no, you got kiddos. You can probably cover a few of those, or Pixar.
Oh man, I love giving his wife a hard time when she goes to the school about her phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
She loves it. She loves it. So, and you can always visit our website, delriodiveclub.com, or check us out on Facebook /Del Rio Dive Club. Oh, Chiana's making her voice heard. Or send us a message or email to Skype via Skype at TGWD. If you want to send email to my good buddy here, Robert, just send it to rsgarza821@yahoo.com.
yes.
Or you can follow him on the Twitter at rsgarza435.
The Twitter.
The Twitter. Or you can do the same for me. You can send me an email at robert.wade@cetifox.net, or follow me on the Twitter at robertcfp. And that pretty much finishes up for this week in this cold, blustery week. And I am off next week.
Ooh.
I got lots of user loos to burn off. And
I see.
fortunately, my boss, my new boss, he approved all my leave, so I got a bunch that I'm going to be off. I will be making bread this week.
Bread.
I know I didn't get to make any last year, but I like to make it from scratch. The whole thing where you beat it to death. I don't do the bread machine. I actually make it from scratch. So
I might have to come over here and try
I have
it.
to try it out. I think you'll like it.
Definitely.
Tara always likes it when I do that. So I got the yeast. They finally got some more yeast there at Walmart. I was like, how are you out of yeast? So they finally got some of that in. So I'll be working on that this week. So we always love to hear your comments, suggestions, questions, all that fun stuff. Nobody jumped in our chat room or our social stream tonight, so that's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
But probably everybody's bundled up trying to keep warm, watching Christmas shows like my wife.
Yeah.
So, but we always have a good time, as you can tell, doing this podcast, and we'll be uploading it to YouTube, of course, afterward. So you can catch it after the fact if this was not a convenient time for you to be sitting in front of your computer or watching on your smartphone. And we will see you next week on another exciting episode of Two Guys Who Dive.
See ya.